Amy Dallen, and welcome to Talkin Comics Weekly! And by weekly, I mean Wednesdays, and by Wednesdays, of course, I mean New Comic Book Day. In each episode of Talkin Comics Weekly, I'm going to spotlight a new book that ships that day to friendly local comic book stores everywhere. Like this one, House of Secrets in Burbank, California, which also happens to be where I work. But that's just the start. I'll also be going on a different comics-related adventure each week, whether it's trying something I've always read about or meeting the people who make the books we all love to read. This week's spotlight, the new release of the week, is a miracle. Miracleman #1. The long-awaited reprinting of one of the most beloved stories in comics history begins at last this Wednesday from Marvel Comics. The story of Miracleman, originally called Marvelman, is a very long and complicated one. In 1982, Alan Moore, eventually author of For Vendetta, Watchmen, Swamp Thing, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and various other works that frequently compete for top billing in all-time best-of lists inside and outside of the comics world, one of the first stories he took on was a revamp of a British superhero from the 50s for a black and white anthology in the UK. The character was named Marvelman, and Moore's take went over very well. That's an understatement. It was incredibly successful, and eventually someone picked up the reprint rights for the American audience, and a rechristened Miracleman debuted in 1985. The name change was intended to avoid confusion with and legal action from the similarly named Marvel Comics. So Alan Moore continued the story, now in color. He was followed by Neil Gaiman, who wrote through issue 24 before the company that had been publishing Miracleman abruptly went bust. What happened next was 20 years of nothing at all. Big, complicated legal battles and endless speculation as to who, if anyone, clearly owned the character, the reprint rights, and the works themselves. Neil Gaiman's story was never finished, and Alan Moore's issues, which many readers point to as having transformed their ideas about, oh, all of superhero comics, have never been reprinted. Until, literally, today. And of all places, at Marvel Comics, which is the sort of small irony that crops up absolutely everywhere in this story. Now I, and a whole generation of readers, will finally get to read for ourselves the stories that seem to constitute a sort of lost Watchmen in the minds of comic readers who read them when they were new. And we'll all get to find out together what Gaiman had planned before the book's untimely demise in 1993. And it all begins with an ordinary man who has these strange dreams, a dream of flying. So, even though Miracleman is one of the great Don't Try This at Home comics, we are here at iFly Hollywood to totally try this at home. And I am joined in this adventure by the amazing Mamrie Hart from You Deserve a Drink.
Hello, I am super happy to be here. I'm pumped.
I'm super excited to try this out.
I'm really excited to be in this tunnel of wind.
I think they might make a smoothie out of us.
Well, if I'm in there, it'll be a daiquiri, because I am 80% rum.
Shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, ladies, got your suits right here.
Oh, what? That was quite the adventure. I feel like a superhero.
I do as well. Thank you so much for joining me,
thanks
Mamrie.
for having me. This was so much fun.
Everybody go watch You Deserve a Drink.
Yes.
And you know, I think we might
need
deserve
one.
a drink.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, iFly. Each week, I'm also going to have some quick picks suggested by the new release of the week, the adventure of the week, or both. This week, it's the Alan Moore primer. He is best known, of course, for Watchmen. This is a work that frequently crops up in lists devoted to serious literature where comic book stories rarely gain a foothold. Watchmen deserves every bit of the praise it has garnered over the years. V for Vendetta and The Ballad of Halo Jones are two more classics that spin out of Moore's earliest anthology work and are endlessly revisitable. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and From Hell showcase very different sides of his talent for historical fiction. Saga of the Swamp Thing, which I've discussed rather extensively elsewhere on Geek and Sundry, is obviously a favorite. Which are your favorites? What did I miss? And what are you picking up this Wednesday? Leave your picks in the comments and we'll see you next week for another adventure. If you enjoyed this one, please like this video, subscribe to Geek and Sundry, and we'll see you next Wednesday for another new comic book day!